Evening, everybody. This is the Opinion Guy. I am Charles Guarria, broadcasting just minutes away from the world's most famous beach, Daytona Beach, in Daytona Beach, Florida. And I hope you guys had a great weekend and tuned in to. I'm doing Sunday marathon. If you didn't tune in, then you wouldn't know. On Sundays, I am showing broadcasts of the most popular shows of the week, as well as whatever the live show is. So yesterday I had Wendy Anderson. She's running for Volusia County Council, and sandwiched around her was the most popular shows of the week, of which this one is almost always one of them. So we are going to get right into it this evening. We have pinch hitting for Joe Hanush, Gabe Wozniak. Hey, Gabe, what's going on?
How's it going?
It's great. And Michael Vass, the returning champ. Ding, 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 ding.
Hello, everybody. It's always good to have everybody here with us on a Monday. Good way to start.
What was that last thing?
It's a good way to start the week.
Thank you. I love it. This is always a great show. And Joe had to take the evening off. And Gabe, thanks for stepping up. How's things in your world, Gabe?
Oh, it's been great. Got a couple events coming up. Got a town hall with Jake Johansson and Judy Ying, as well as there's the Volusia County Council with Danny Robbins and Brian White, and I think Mike for Volusia is going to be there as well. So I'm excited for that.
That's Mike. I'm going to struggle with his name. Poniatowski?
Yes.
He is on my show on the 21st. He will be here.
You got his Polish last name, right?
Yeah, I got yours. Wozniak, I said the first time, right?
Yeah, Wozniak.
Wozniak. Yeah. And the funny thing about that, Mike, is we went over it right before we went on. I am not great with names. I just not. It's just like one of those things that I have. But you know why I got it right? Because I got a screen up with everybody's coming on my show. So before he said anything, I flipped over to the screen and read it right off the screen.
Well, I got a slight advantage since I've lived over in Moscow. I have and a little bit of Russian, so I'm better with Slavic names than most Americans.
Yeah, very cool. All right.
That just means good evening. It's fresh.
Yeah, it looks like Gabe is froze.
No, he's moving.
Oh, there you go. All right, great. Can you hear us, Gabe? It's all good over there?
I can hear you perfect.
Oh, okay, good. All right, good.
He was just stunned by my good looks. I mean, hell.
Our handsome as hell
tonight. Doesn't want to be as healthy and good looking as I am at my age.
We all do. Actually, I'd have to go in reverse. I would have to go in reverse to make that happen because I am a little bit older than you. So I am 62.
It's all right. You can be jealous. Be jealous of my youthful. If you want to, it's okay to be jealous of my youthful vibrancy. I mean, it's all right. I'm used to it.
I am. And every one of you could be jealous of my hair.
People don't realize I love to laugh. I'm not like a comedian or anything, but you know, I love a good laugh every once in a while too.
Before we went on,
I'm so serious.
Before we went on, Michael was saying he's not as conservative as everybody thinks he is.
No, well, considering that nowadays people think conservative means, you know, goose step in 1930s, nowhere near that. You know, it's like what I can, and maybe a lot of people feel that way, that I feel very centered. I think I'm mostly center right. But when I deal with other people of other political factions, especially when I talk to people who are progressive and communist, they think I'm like the extremist far right. I'm like, I don't even know how you get there. Like I know those people, I know of them, and I've heard their rhetoric. I'm nowhere near that. I don't know how you put me in that box, but you know, it's interesting.
Gabe, before you became a libertarian, what box were you in?
10 years ago, I was a Republican before I knew the Libertarian Party existed.
There you go. Yeah, you know, I too was a Republican until 2016 when somebody named Donald Trump got elected to office, and well, actually, when he won the primary, because and he got into a fight with that Gold Star family, and I was like, you know what? He should have never have done that publicly. That was wrong. If he's going to fight publicly with Gold Star families, I am out. I cannot be a part of this party anymore. So that's why I left, and no party. But I think it's pretty obvious. I lean libertarian. I mean, I basically hold libertarian views, but I am no party affiliation. David's checking in. What's going on, David? Great show. David is on tomorrow night, and he is a part of the baseball show. 10-year pro ball player, David Valdez. Seattle, drafted by Seattle, also played a little with Seattle minor leagues and Los Angeles minor league, the Dodgers minor leagues. Hitting coach now, coaches a high school varsity team, has his own hitting instruction. Great guy and super intelligent about baseball. Should we do news? I mean, it's supposed to be a news show. I guess we should be doing some news, huh?
You always slip in some baseball every time, but okay, yes,
of course. There actually is some baseball related news we can go over. You just reminded me. Wait, I got to write that down.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't look this up, but I can. Okay. All righty. So first of all, we're going to start out with this. I got to share the screen because this was a great moment in broadcasting history yesterday, and I want to show this to everybody to get the show started. So if we could just wait 1 second here, let me share the screen, and we're going to watch something that interplay between two amazing broadcasters is coming up right now. So watch this, folks, and be amazed. Here we go.
Oh, it is me. Okay. Chuck, I'm jealous. 90 degrees in Florida. Literally, it's 43 degrees right now. 43 degrees and cloudy. I just looked. 43 degrees and cloudy in New York State right now. New York City. 90 down with Chuck in Florida. I say very kindly, screw you. Screw you, Chuck.
I love that, Mike. You have me cracking up laughing.
I never watch my old stuff. Anything I do, I don't really go back on. So it's kind of funny to see myself.
He actually told me to screw off on a worldwide show yesterday. I was driving to Orlando to go see a concert. So I put Mike on. I'm like, hey, Mike, I'm on my way up to Orlando from Daytona Beach area. Gonna go see the Verve Pipe. I'm just checking you out. He goes, and he starts talking about the weather. So I reply, it's 90 degrees. This was yesterday. I go, it's 90 degrees. And he told me to go screw off. So then I told him, if Larry Sharpe doesn't win the governorship, that Mike should just move to Florida. And in fact, Donna heard that, and she's like, tell Mike he's got a bedroom right here if he needs to come down and get away from that hellhole. So Mike, you got an open invitation to this house here in the Daytona Beach area.
I appreciate that. And
right.
If Larry Sharpe doesn't win New York governor, I like many of the few remaining Republicans and conservatives and libertarians will probably consider it strongly because there's a reason why all the center right people in New York State have left and why the left are falling apart in New York State.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue into where we're going to kick off this week's show. And that's going to be with Memdani talking about not even center left. We're talking about left socialists, DSA. What has he been up to? And also, while Larry Sharpe is brought up, give us an update on how he's doing getting the petitions to run on the Republican line. But let's start with Memdani. What is going on with Memdani these days?
Mayor Zoran Mamdani, the communist creep that he is, he's absolutely abysmal. This man has sunk to new lows. And I'm not surprised, but many people are suddenly waking up to what was obvious before. But they were saying, oh, you're just a racist. You just don't get it. You just don't understand. They love to say you just don't understand. And what do we see? You probably heard about the Pennsylvania teens. 2 kids came up from Pennsylvania. Their families are rich, millionaires. They had previously just been out. They spent about 18 months over in Syria and in Turkey. We believe, it is believed, not confirmed yet, that they were being indoctrinated or trained by ISIS on their trip. And you gotta love it. these kids were like 17 and 18 at the time, and they were able. This is how rich their families are: 17 and 18, and they were able to take about 9 months to stay in Turkey and Syria. Yeah, that's some nice money in that family.
Oh yeah.
So these aren't kids who are impoverished. These aren't kids who are suffering because of white privilege or anything stupid like that. No, they're living the life of Riley. They came back to America, and they hate Americans, all Americans, including presumably their own parents who became Americans. So they come to New York, and being teenagers, they are, of course, carrying frag grenades, handmade fragmentation grenades.
Well, wait.
Yes.
Who doesn't do that when they're a teenager?
I mean, hey, my guys, we're old-fashioned. We had Molotov cocktails.
There you go.
But, you know, Gabe wouldn't know about that. No. You guys got to go for the fancy IEDs. Because this is what teenagers these days do. And they were walking around New York and found a protest going on. And there were police keeping everything peaceful, cars that were truly far right, and a bunch of anti-protesters or counter-protests, however you want to work it, a second protest, that were far left. And they were separated, but they were yelling at each other. And so the kid said, hey, you know what? This is the perfect opportunity. Let's take since we happen to have a bunch of fragmentation grenades that are built to maim and kill people, let's throw them in between the cops and the far right protest. Yeah, and don't worry, even though the blast radius will include a bunch of the leftists too, but we don't like them either. So that's what they tried to do, but thank God they're incompetent, and they failed twice. Zoran Mandani, in finding out about this, makes it about him. This was all the fault of white supremacy. Mind you, you notice I didn't bring up the white supremacy. I didn't bring up the far right. I didn't say they were white, black. Does it matter? No, because none of that had anything to do with what the two teens were doing and why they were doing it. But Zoran Mandani said, oh my God, it's the white supremacist. It was the protest against Muslims. That's why there were a couple of frag grenades thrown trying to kill a bunch of Americans.
Oh, I see. I got it.
And he completely covered this up. He basically was trying to soft pedal this. Then we saw CNN take the side of Mandami and say, oh, no, these kids, literally they were saying these kids were just, out and about in New York City, and they just happened to be throwing around a bunch of frag grenades. We had Abby Phillips lying about the event on national TV, on CNN, saying, hey, this was about the white nationalists. They were the aggressors here. They were violent. None of this is true. And I have to say about all of this, when you look at it, we now know the kids, they say themselves they are ISIS. They have said that they got trained by ISIS. They ideologically agree with ISIS. They want to kill American citizens, even though they are American citizens. And Mandami is still pushing his agenda forward, even with that happening, trying to make them seem like angels, blaming anyone and everything except the kids themselves and the choice for terrorism that they made. And I have to say, how safe do you think New York City is going to be? How safe is New York State going to be now that we know we have an open borders mayor who is willing to ignore and or support terrorist actions? How safe would it be?
What's the end game for him? Like, why would he do something like that?
Mandami?
Yeah.
There is no clear answer on that. The supposition a lot of people are making is he is very religious and he's very leftist. I mean, we know he's a communist by his own words. So he hates America. He wants to destroy America. New York is the financial center of America. If you can destroy New York City, you do a good part of the work to destroy the United States, not just the state, but the entire country. That, I believe, may be one of his goals. I don't think he's a good guy.
So you think we have what was that movie with the spy who was like the president in the 1960s?
Manchurian Candidate?
Yeah, do you think he's a Manchurian mayor?
No, he told you up front. I mean, Gabe, tell me if I'm wrong. He said up front to the public that he is a socialist and or communist, depending on which comment you listen to. He is a devout Muslim. He has no problem with intifada. He believes in open borders. When you start putting all these things together, these are his statements. And now we get to see his statements in action. They are anti-Semitic, in my opinion. They are anti-American, in my opinion. And their net result will be not just politically bad, this is physically bad for people. This is dangerous. He's creating a very dangerous environment in New York State. And if I'm right, and I hope I'm not, but if he has an open border, New York City, allowing more radicals like those kids coming into the United States through New York, that means there are people everywhere in the country are in danger. People will die. We got 4 years of an open border with this kind of mentality behind it. How many people will die?
Yeah. Got a question for you, Gabe, on this. You could be isn't it possible to be a socialist or a communist and still not want to destroy the place that just elected you? Like, what do you think, Gabe, on that? I mean, does it automatically mean the end of the city and worse, like Michael's saying, because this guy? I mean, can't you just be a socialist and want to keep America and just socialize it?
Absolutely. I mean, socialism and communism are more of economic viewpoints. Take someone like Bernie Sanders, for example, a proud democratic socialist who admires Trump's work on the border. As Bernie Sanders says, without a border, you can't have a country. And I would agree with that. Even as a libertarian who doesn't want big government, I understand the importance of wanting to keep your border secure, know who's coming into the country, and hold people accountable for their crimes. I mean, libertarian doesn't necessarily mean anarchy. It means you think the government should stop at public safety and building the roads.
I can see that, but I kind of, first of all, Bernie Sanders.
I know it kills you to agree with Bernie Sanders, but you got to admit he's right.
No, I don't trust Bernie Sanders. He's a liar.
Kills me too.
He's a proven liar. He'll say whatever it takes to get political gain and money. He's already sold out his beliefs in 2016. I have no reason to believe him since.
I'm not saying that what he says has any merit, but I'm saying what he said I agree with, regardless of if he meant it or not. Would you agree with what he said, Michael?
I agree with the statement, not the person who made it.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that too.
Yeah, but that's a very much a Republican, conservative, center-right principle. It's not a principle of the left.
Well, he's an independent.
He says he's a lot of things. You know what? I'm an independent, but I vote entirely along the progressive Democratic line. I raise money on the Democratic progressive ticket. He's not. That's a lie. It's a great lie to tell people who say, I can't vote Democrat, I can't vote Republican, I need to be third party. And with all respect to libertarians, Bernie Sanders is taking advantage of that. And he's going, oh, see, I'm the independent. I'm really free. I do things that, none of the others will do. That's not what he does. That's his sales pitch. It's a good sales pitch. It's been very effective for him. That's why he's a multimillionaire with 3 homes. As he says that he believes in socialism and yet pays his employees below the minimum wage he recommends people should have. He's out there raking in money, talking out of both sides of his face. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy.
You act like I'm defending Bernie Sanders here, Michael. I'm not. I'm just.
No,
I'm just referencing a quote which I happen to like.
No, I get it, but I don't like politicians of any party.
He's also one of the biggest fighters against the Patriot Act, which was one of the biggest violations of our First Amendment right.
I have some.
I'm not here to defend anybody, any politician from any area on the aisle, but I
No,
believe
I
in
wa- I
giving
wasn't
credit where
meaning that-
credit's due.
Yeah, I
Democrat,
wasn't meaning
Republican,
that.
independent, whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't meaning that you were saying you were supporting him. It's just he's a sore point to me because a lot of people like to point to him and go, no, you just don't understand. He's independent. He's, all these other things. And it's like critically looking at him, he's not. But I'm not saying that you're defending him or that you're using him other than he made the quote. So to be fair.
Yeah, I know no sound bites allowed, but I was definitely using that sound bite.
That was good. So I don't know, man. So what? How did the city react to it? I mean, do they still like this guy? What's his, Zoran Mamdani? What's his ratings? But now with this latest incident,
his popularity is waning quickly because he's made a lot of very unpopular things. Like he wants to raise taxes. He's trying to find fees and taxes he can raise up to drive out the rich because they're not going to stay and pay these fees and they're already leaving. And that means the burden's on the middle class and the poor. And he's already admitted that the burden is going to fall on the middle class and the poor, which is exactly opposite of what he promised. His programs aren't working. They're not being implemented. People aren't safe. There was a guy, a 4-time illegal immigrant who was in New York City, because he always comes back to sanctuary cities, who was being protected by the sanctuary city status of New York, who pushed 2 men into the subway, one of them being an 83-year-old veteran who is now brain dead, which means he's essentially dead.
Has it happened in the last week since the last time we spoke?
Yeah.
Holy smoke. I won't go into the subway in New York. Gabe, have you ever been to New York?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I won't go to the subways. What do you think about visiting there now?
I don't care. It's not as bad as the LA subways.
Oh, really?
I've never been on an LA subway, which on principle I'll never do.
Oh, it's just
they have earthquakes. Why do I want to be underground in an earthquake zone?
I mean, the way my brother describes it is you just sum up like the worst possible people you can imagine and put them all on an underground bus.
All right.
That sounds scary.
Mike, did you feel the earthquake like 10 years ago in New York?
The earthquakes in New York are really not that big. I've lived in California. I lived about 5 miles away from the epicenter of the Northridge quake. That was back in the 90s.
Okay.
And that was probably the worst earthquake I've ever seen. I believe it was, some say it was like a 7.
Wow.
Very close, either on or exceeded a 7 on the Richter scale. That was terrifying. So most other earthquakes, East Coast, you don't get things over like a 3.5.
Yeah.
That's nothing. That's nothing.
Right.
Hey, Michael, can I ask you something?
Go.
What do you think about CNN's X post about the terrorism attack in New York?
I didn't see it. What was it? Do you know?
Well, the tweet that they said covering the terrorism attack in New York, 2 Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. But in less than an hour, their lives would drastically change as the pair would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside of Mayor Zoran Mamdani's home. Here's what we know so far.
Huh. Can you imagine they wrote that?
Yeah,
they deleted it.
Well, they get rid of the evidence. Oh, it was not part of our ethical standards. Apparently it was, because nothing is going to be published, unless it's been approved by a bunch of editors.
It reminds me of one of those movies where they stop and they're like, freeze frame. Like, what's going to happen now?
Yeah, that never goes away, that stuff, man. So what's happening now with these kids, and has the fervor over this kind of died down, or?
No, it's still people like you, Chuck, have not heard about this or not heard all about it, because it literally was national news for a blip, and then they shut down the conversation about it because it's very anti-democrat. Because at its core, it goes back to open borders, which reminds people of the failures of the Biden-Harris administration and the danger that poses today. And that means some people may not vote Democrat in midterm election year. So they don't want to talk about this. They're trying to avoid it. But the public is very upset about this, as they should be, as they learn about it. It's insulting to see what our news media has been saying. That's why I started off with, we carry around fragmentation grenades because that's what you do. And that's what I was referencing, the CNN article on that. This is terrifying to me. They are willing to allow known and suspected terrorists, sleeper cells to exist in this nation because it's politically advantageous for the Democratic Party. And that is unacceptable. Unacceptable.
So what's happening with these kids?
They've been arrested. They're being potentially, it's an investigation is going on to see to confirm their ties to ISIS, as the kids have claimed there is. It is being seen as an act of domestic terrorism. They are being charged with that. They have been already arrested. They've already done their perp walk. That's pretty much where the kids are right now. That's about it.
How old are they?
18 and 19.
So do you think are they should they be treated as adults at 18 and 19, and should they be tried and have the same punishment, same risk of being punished that a 25 and 26-year-old would?
Technically, well, by law, they are adults. 18.
Oh, really? 17 and 19, and I thought it was 21.
No, 18. 18 is an adult.
16.
Huh?
So 18. So say it again.
I said in Florida it's 16.
16. Okay.
No. 16 may allow you to do things like drive a car, but in terms of federal law, there are state things that you may be allowed, but anything that requires federal adulthood is 18 by law. So you are legally, like, you sign a contract, you want to join the military, you want to live your life alone, on your own. Everything starts at 18. And then being able to drink is 21, which is stupid. If I can join the Marines, I can die for my country. I should be able to drink. That's my personal pet peeve there. But, that's where people go, oh, well, it's 21 is adulthood. No, it's not. It's 18. They are adults. They will be tried as adults. I hope they burn in hell.
Yeah, let's. I'm going to see if I can find that. I love to verify things. Domestic. Hold on one second. Let's see if we can find this.
I agree. By the way, anything you should be able to do at 21 should be able to do at 18.
Yeah, that whole thing is goofy.
Hell, you can join the military at 17, but you can't buy a gun in the U.S. until you're 21. That's bull.
17 requires parents' permission. Anything under 18 requires, you can join at 16 in the military if you have your parents' permission.
Yeah, can. But the word can, but
yes,
with a parent's permission, you can't buy a gun.
Yeah. So it is 18.
I don't agree with that. Yeah.
Generally treating individuals 18 years of age or older as adults. Yeah, that's what's coming up here. So, yeah, all right. So the 17-year-old, do you think he should be treated as an adult?
No, he's 18 now. He was 17 when he went to Turkey. He's 18 now.
He's 18 now. Oh, okay. All right. Got it. All right. So we got to see what happens with that. They'll probably just plea bargain. If they're really rich, the parents, then they'll
No, don't accept the plea bargain. Screw that. Take him to court, put him through the trial. Yeah. I'd rather, if we waste more than enough money in this country. We have $2.1 trillion we spend every year. Screw that. Have it publicized every single day, do the entire trial, show them for being the domestic terrorists that they are. And when they are convicted, as they should be, then give them the electric chair and publicize it. Show people.
All right. What do you think, Gabe? What should be the punishment? Should they be punished
for domestic terrorism amongst innocent people?
Say it again.
For domestic terrorism amongst innocent people?
Should these kids be? Should these kids not accept the plea? Should the government not accept the plea bargain? Go to trial, and if they're found guilty as charged, get capital punishment.
I mean, I'm all in favor of capital punishment when you're endangering people's lives. I think execution would be completely necessary.
Okay. Let's stick with New York City because this was something that happened a while ago. But speaking of Mamdani, the mayor of New York, reminded me it was a little bit ago that his wife. It came out in the news that his wife liked posts that were pro October 7th. You know, when Israel was attacked. Does
Terror
this
attack. Terror attack.
yes
Massive
terror attack?
1,200
Right.
people dead. 34 Americans killed. 22 were taken as prisoner. They were tortured for 582 days. 17 were killed in that daily torture and sexual abuse. And Donald Trump got the last two back home, last two living Americans that were being held as hostage in human shield back in January 2025. Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. Yeah. So she, some posts on social media, of course, she liked those posts. Does it matter what the wife, Mike, I'll start with you on this one since you're in New York. Does it matter if the wife of any politician in general, we can start with Mamdani's wife, what she does, or the husband, what he does, does it really affect the person who is in office? Should we care what the significant other does?
No, with a caveat. There's a caveat to that. So his wife she's a public personality, but she's not an elected official. There's a definitive line there. She's a public person because of her husband, but she is not an entity in her own. So if she's doing something that reflects on New York City, that reflects on her husband and his position or his politics, that's fair game. If she's doing something as an individual, she likes a post. First of all, you like a post. Who cares? People can like anything they want to like. I don't care. Doesn't matter how repugnant and repulsive it may be. It's America. You have the right to like whatever the hell you want, even if it's sickening.
I agree.
But she does have some culpability when she's dealing with issues where she's injecting herself. If she's injecting herself into the public space, she can't then turn around when she gets a backlash and say, no, I'm a private individual. Screw that. No, you're not a private individual. Your kids, if he had kids, like the Obama's kids, they were always off, they were under 18. They were off grounds. You could not touch them because they shouldn't. They were private citizens and innocent. Mamdani's wife isn't. And when she injects herself into political debates, she is reflecting her husband and therefore reflecting New York City. When she steps into those public spaces, she should know better. That's her own fault.
Okay, so before I hand it to you, Gabe, Mike, quick question here. Is she more active than most wives have been for mayors?
Depends on how far back you're going.
Yeah, like our time, since
recent, in the most recent 30 years, not so much.
No.
If you're going back further than that, yes.
Okay.
So if you're talking more than 30 years, yes, she's far more active. If you're talking within the last 30 years, not really. No.
Okay. So Gabe, how about it? Significant other, should they be? Should the person in office be criticized, held responsible in some kind of way if a significant other, likes the attack, the terror attack on October 7th, or any other issue that is?
What do you mean by held responsible? Like from a legal perspective?
No. Should they be criticized? Should they be looked at as having that same view? Should they be criticized? Is it even a big deal?
I mean, that's not up for me to decide. That's not up for anyone to decide. Like I'm not even an elected official, and I'm criticized for the stuff I say. Like, everything is fair game. That's what the First Amendment's all about. Like, if you want to say something, don't shake your head at me, Michael. I'm making a point here.
I know. I'm not stopping you. I'm just emoting. Go on.
I believe any individual should be responsible for the things that they say. I mean, not legally, but the First Amendment's the First Amendment. We have free speech. And to your point, Michael, I mean, we know that the women from the left have always been the wives of the Democrat politicians. They've always been a little more noisy than the ones from the right. And that's what you're used to. That's what you like. And that's okay. I mean, Laura Bush, Like Reagan's wife, Nancy, they never like got involved like Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, or
yeah, Reagan's wife did. Just Say No was a huge one when she was trying to get people off of drugs. Her
That's
answer
the one
was
that she's known for, but she did more than that.
her answer was just say no, and that'll work.
A lot of first ladies have been very active, Republican and Democrat alike. A lot of them have been involved. The thing is, unlike, say, Hillary or Michelle Obama, they were politically active. They were active in the politics day to day as if they were an elected official. They assumed that kind of authority and power, whereas we don't see that. Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Reagan, Laura Bush never assumed political power. They were dealing with social power, trying to motivate people on a social level, and I have no problem with that. But when I was saying before, Gabe,
that's exactly my point, though. In my lifetime, I've had 3 Democratic first ladies: Jill Biden, Hillary Clinton, and Michelle Obama. I mean,
none of them were elected to anything, but yet they acted as if they took actions as if they were politically powerful, like they had been elected, and that's a problem. And the one thing
you had two first ladies that had presidential aspirations, and you also had a ventriloquist.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And that would be Jill Biden. You're correct.
I agree.
But see, there's the difference. They inserted themselves into politics. See, unlike you and I, all 3 of us, we are public figures to varying degrees. We're public figures. We placed ourselves into the public life.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you run for a candidacy or you do something like these kind of programs, you're injecting yourself to criticism.
Oh, yeah.
And we're fair targets.
It's fine by me. Yep. I laugh at it.
It's fair. Mm-hmm. But those ladies, in the same way, they injected themselves into the public discussion, discourse, right. And therefore they are fair game. Jill, Hillary, Michelle, fair game. And if anyone doesn't like it, and then you hear people go, but you can't pick on them for, especially Michelle, you can't pick on her. She put herself into the politics. She's fair game. She can't turn around because she doesn't like, we mean the hashtag return our girls to Boko Haram. You know, that didn't work. And it's an embarrassment for America. You know what? You can't hide from it. You were wrong. It was stupid. You misused the political power you had, and you embarrassed the United States. You know, you can't have it both ways. That's the way I make that difference. Is if you put yourself into the public spotlight, you're fair game. If you're out of it, stay out.
Yeah, if you're going to be
we're saying the same thing in different words, Michael.
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, great. Yeah, when the mayor dies, like, you don't look for leadership from the mayor's wife. You look at the vice mayor. But if the mayor's wife wants to make a fool out of herself, of course, it's going to be a news story, and who's going to stop him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think it's a big deal that she did that. Like, I don't see why anybody would care.
I personally care.
Yeah, neither do I. And anybody who makes, and I don't care. You know, I didn't care about Jimmy Carter's brother, Billy, who was a nut job. I was young, but I used to hear about it. You know, I was just a few eight years short of voting back then, and just, you know, like whatever, who cares? It's so unimportant. So let's do something. We're going to stick with local news, but we're going south to Florida, the 90-degree place, and something about gambling machines was in the news. And Gabe, I know you got the lowdown on that. So fill us in on what's happening with these gambling machines in Volusia County.
Well, as has happened before, the Volusia County Sheriff's Department has seized gambling machines from local bars as well as cash.
Huh.
I'm not sure if they've arrested anybody this time, but this time they worked with Brevard County, Flagler County, and Duval County and seized 525 machines out of 39 businesses with $190,000 cash. 225 of those machines were in Volusia County, and 97K cash was recovered from that. Mike Chitwood says these are illegal. They take your money, they money launder it, and they send it overseas to be used against our country. So when you're in there thinking you're making $50, they're sending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars overseas.
Okay, 1 second. Mike Chitwood, just so everybody knows, is the Volusia County Sheriff. Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, they raided places such as Buzzard's Roast and Murphy's Bar and Deltona, Old Glenwood's Grocery, Old Pappy's Bar, Preview Games, Seadrift Sports Bar, and Stop and Save. And those are just to name a few. But it's happened in multiple places throughout Volusia County. And I believe the only reason that they're being raided is because they're not owned by Native Americans. And also the fact that they can't get a piece of the action because they're not taxed.
Well, why don't these guys just legalize? Why don't these guys just get become legal? Like, why do it illegally to begin with?
I don't think anything that a grown man wants to spend his money on that doesn't hurt anybody else or anybody else's property should be illegal.
Okay. I want to make sure I understand, because I was under the belief that in Florida, casino gambling machines are not legal.
Unless it's Native American.
Indian reservations are not U.S. property. So that's anything that happens on an Indian reservation that's separate of U.S. So Florida,
there's a Seminole Hard Rock, and there's a whole Hard Rock app where you can gamble from anywhere.
Well, online is another issue altogether. So separate of online, these businesses had physical machines in place, even if they work electronically. They had a machine in their place that allowed them to gamble, and that's illegal. Am I?
Yes, but you can use the same games on your Hard Rock app anywhere in Florida, and the Hard Rock app has a monopoly on gambling in Florida.
And the Hard Rock is, I assume it's not the Hard Rock Cafe, but just Hard Rock using a similar name.
No, it is.
Indian.
No, it is. It's the Hard Rock. It's a Hard Rock Hotel and Resort in right outside Fort Lauderdale, right in Fort Lauderdale.
So they have a gambling
also in Lakeland, close to Lakeland.
Okay, so they have a gambling license in addition to the Indian reservations.
Yeah,
it's not any Indian reservations, but
it is not
the Seminole Hard Rock.
The Hard Rock in Fort Lauderdale, which is called the Seminole, is not on Indian reservation. No, it's not.
I don't think the Seminole Hard Rock close to Tampa is either.
Well, the reason why, when you're saying Seminole, I'm from the north. I'm thinking,
yeah, it sounds like
Indian.
You're talking about it. No, it's not. Yeah.
Okay.
It's owned by Indians.
Then that would probably qualify it as Indian reservation, Indian property, Native Americans, whatever you want to call them, and therefore it would go under different stipulations. Okay, I'm just trying to understand.
It's basically DEI.
Could be, but I'm trying to understand, because there's a couple of terms. Because I know in many states have been adopting casinos. Either pretty much every Indian reservation has one, and many states are trying to get it. So I'm trying to understand the terms there, because, well, even throwing that all out, and we were talking about this a little bit in the green room before. I hate this. This just proves, to a certain extent, my overall view of casinos, especially in state-owned casinos in communities. It's an absolute detriment to the public. If your sheriff is correct, and he's alluded to, that some of this money is somehow going overseas to help fund nefarious organizations, that even makes it even worse to have these casinos, especially if they're state-run or state-allowed. We got to stop this. This does not work. Everywhere they've been doing this, and this has been going on for a decade, maybe almost 2 decades now. We've been seeing it across state after state. It's a failed idea. It does not work. We really need to stop this. I get it. It's your money. You can do whatever you want. Great. Go to a reservation, do it there. But if the state is encouraging you to do it, which it is, by having casinos and having gambling operations, state-run gambling operations, that's encouragement, and it always ruins the society, local, state, even federal.
Okay, so you're saying you don't like? Could we start out talking about illegal ones that the three or four counties went after in a combined effort? You're saying whether legal or illegal, you don't like those, right? You basically don't think they should, outside of like Vegas and Atlantic City, you should go back to like the way it was back like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when it was just Vegas and Atlantic City, that sort of thing.
I don't think he even wants Vegas or Atlantic City, right?
No, I do, because, and there's a stipulation there. The reason why isn't because I don't like gambling. I do. I love gambling. It's minimizing the impact zone and the negative consequences of the gambling that we see. It's far easier to maintain law and order and having restrictions on the negative consequences, the drug addiction, the gambling addiction, violence, poverty that go along with casinos. If there's only 2 locations essentially in the country, even a hand, let's even go to 5. If you only have that, you can manage that very significantly, and the negative consequences don't hit every community. But if you look in New York State as an example, we opened up 4 state-allowed casinos. 3 of them are going bankrupt, which is costing people money. This is after taking all of the money out of the community and sucking that community, each of those 3 communities, dry, increasing crime, increasing addictions, and reducing the amount of money available to help that community. The 4th one is almost break even, and now they're going to put 3 more in New York City. All this is going to do is increase the amount of crime, addiction, poverty. It's not going to bring in the revenue they say it will, because the function of a casino, casinos only work if they take your money. So what revenue is going out to the public? Oh, well, they're giving us, they're going to give us 10 cents on every dollar that they make as profit. Well, that's not the same thing as 10 cents on every dollar they take in. 1, 2, great. It's 10 cents. That's less money than what the community started with. You're still in a deficit. You're losing 90 cents out of every dollar.
So you'd feel different if you lived in Atlantic City.
I have lived in Atlantic City.
So were you okay with gambling going on there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, at the time, I was living in Atlantic City in the 90s. There were 2 locations in the entire country, separate of Indian reservations. They're always separate. So there was 2 locations in the country, and there was massive crime. And if you lived in Atlantic City, as I did, and you walked 1 block off of the boardwalk, you instantly stepped into absolute poverty.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. It's not, and Vegas isn't like that. Vegas has some nice communities just outside of it.
Yeah, but they were developed differently.
There's so many
race up.
So you think if it was nationally legal, federally legal to do any sort of gambling, that the whole nation would be thrown into disarray?
It will corrupt more and more communities. There will be more crime, more addictions. There will be more poverty, and it is a zero-sum game. Yes, because casinos function. The function of a casino is to take money out of a community.
Well, let me ask you, what's your thought on the lotto then?
I think it's been misused, and it's a horrible thing. It's failed.
But the lotto is
one
pretty
person
much everywhere
a week gets to have this great return. Fantastic. And there's we're supposed to be getting a percentage of that money to go and take care of education. That's usually what they say. But yet our schools are failing our kids. They're out of money. We're still spending $125 billion a year minimum on our schools, and they need even more money than that. Our kids aren't getting great educations, and you're still taking, you want to call it 75 cents out of every dollar, is still being sucked out of that city, out of that state, out of that community. And we're getting back we're getting less than 25 cents. We're getting 10, 15 cents to go to education funding, which is used as part of the general fund. That money is used as a slush fund by state and cities to fund anything and everything else other
Right,
than
it's not
education.
education.
It's a complete failure.
So
You think we need more money in the Department of Education?
hold on. Taking it back to the original part of the conversation, the illegal gambling. Did Sheriff Chitwood say, have receipts on this money being sent out and coming back, laundered and
That's
coming
what
back?
I was wondering. I did not see any evidence of where the money went, but in his statement, he said it went to like things like human trafficking and money laundering. But I mean, I also would like to see the receipts on that.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right.
If that is true, like it's the same as the gun argument. If there's going to be a criminal who's going to break the law, they're going to break the law. If gambling's legal for everyone, you'd have mom and pop's gambling places. You can do do blackjack, or you could do roulette, whatever. If it's legal, it's legal. And if it's more widely available, it's less likely to be abused.
And I disagree with that. I know that's a wonderful, I know every libertarian I know says that about many things. They're wrong. That principle is wrong because it's not proven by
that for sure.
It's not proven by human actions over history.
Gabe, did you say you've proven it's wrong? Did you just say
that?
I
mean, it's been proven wrong based on studies with things like drug abuse and rape, with legalization of prostitution and legalization of drugs.
No,
what do you mean?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Let's. I don't want to start talking about sex work and all that kind of stuff. I do want to remind people that if you like the conversation, to like, comment, and share. That is super important to get the word out. Like David Valdez did, he commented. So please like, comment, and share. Because if you care, you will like, comment, and share. And subscribe to become a part of the tribe and find out when this show goes live. I really would appreciate that. And I appreciate Mike simulcasting. Are you simulcasting tonight?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am.
All right. Awesome.
Always want to spread the word. Let people know about this.
Yeah. Thanks so much. I love it. Thank you so much for that. And Gabe, you said you were out getting petitions. How'd that go? Give us a little insight onto your campaign.
Well, these weren't campaign petitions. They were for Toilet to Tap.
Oh, okay.
I went to the beach yesterday in Daytona, and it was pretty much a disaster.
Oh, geez.
No one was from there. And from what I understood, it was a takeover. And it was just completely mobbed out Daytona Beach side. I spoke with one of my friends who's a bartender on the rooftop today.
Rooftop of what?
Huh?
What do you mean the rooftop?
Oh, at Joe's Crab Shack.
Oh, okay. All right, Joe's Crab Shack is right on the water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, folks, I'm trying to mess around with my lights while we're doing this. It's driving me nuts.
People were having intercourse in the bathrooms, bringing in their own liquor bottles, and
insane.
Some of my friends own bars over on the mainland, and their bathrooms have been destroyed with graffiti. And it's, I mean, the Daytona mayor will tell you that it's all a positive influx of tourism, but at the same time, they'll try and ban Bike Week from Daytona, doing everything in their power to do so.
They're not really banning Bike Week. They love Bike Week. I have to push back on that. I'm at every city council meeting. They love Bike Week. They're not trying to ban it. There are people who believe that they've taken steps to kind of minimize its impact, but unless you think their end game is to ban it, if that's what you mean, then I don't mean to jump in like that. But I know that everybody on the council.
You're right. I used ban the same way I would say that communism is the end game of socialism. They've hindered Bike Week to the point where they've started moving to Orlando to celebrate Bike Week.
Yeah. Bike Week is well beyond Daytona Beach. I was in St. Augustine, which is about 40 miles, like a few days after Bike Week, and I was talking to my Uber driver, and he was talking about how it's a pretty big deal there too.
I I'm just saying,
So-
Bike Week gets smaller and smaller every year. Same with Biketoberfest in Daytona.
Well, do you think people are just aging out? Like, I know bike riding is still fun. People love, Harley Davidson is doing well, the last I heard. But so do you think it's just like the whole idea of it is just like aging out and people are just going to not attend these events? I don't know how Sturgis does, but what do you think?
I mean, from a hospitality perspective, they could definitely do more to attract younger bikers.
Yeah.
However, at the same time, the city isn't making it easier to operate. I know at Dirty Harry's, they used to have a famous wet t-shirt contest, and after enough complaints, they started making the contestants wear pasties.
Oh, really?
Really? That's sad.
That'll do it. Oh, man. All right. Well, you brought up toilet to tap. You were going for petitions on toilet to tap. And I happen to have been speaking with a scientist who is also running for Volusia County Council. Her name is Wendy Anderson. And we spoke about the issue of toilet to tap. So let me bring this up and we can hear her side of this and what she feels. And then, Gabe, I want to ask your opinion because I don't think I ever got you on the record with that. So let's listen to what she says about toilet to tap. It's coming up 1 second. I got a short here. It's about 1.5 minutes. So I'm going to share the screen and I'll play this. Give me 1 second and we are off.
Yeah. So I'm just going to give kudos to Greg Gimbert and Elena Kraft and Jeff Brower for their effective campaign skills. I mean, they have blown this thing up so big. So, wow, they've been really effective in getting people's attention, getting local, regional, and even national attention on it. So, wow, that's amazing how much they've done that, because there is a real significant ick factor to the idea of drinking raw sewage. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole toilet to tap alliteration, that's just so clever. That's so clever. And yet, as I said to county council a couple weeks ago, there is no place in the United States of America where it is legal to inject raw sewage, which you call black water, which is called black water. Raw sewage is black water. There's no place where it is legal to inject that into an aquifer, to dump that into a river, to blend it directly into a drinking water supply. It's not a thing. No. It's not a thing. Toilet to tap is not a thing.
And of course, one of the hot. So there you go. Toilet to tap is not a thing. That's coming from a scientist. Her point of view. And I don't think, and all the time, Gabe, that I've had you on, which I think this is third time that we've ever really discussed your position on that. So where do you stand on toilet to tap? Is it a thing? Do you agree with Wendy or that it isn't? Or
I do not agree with Wendy at all. I actually met her on Wednesday, I believe it was. Very nice lady.
Yeah.
However, she's completely off base on this. There's places like Altamont Springs and Tampa and a couple places in Brevard County that are injecting black water into the aquifer. Sure, they're not directly put in the toilet water, as she's probably sort of swaying her opinion on. However, they're filtering it directly as opposed to letting it evaporate to the clouds, turning into rainwater and putting down into the soil, into the water supply. The difference is that this water has a chance to process naturally. The reason they want to put black water and filter it directly in the aquifer, how the astronauts drink their water, is so that they can have an endless supply of water and they can keep developing. Because we only have a limited amount of water per city.
Yeah.
Or not even per city, per aquifer zone. And we're getting pretty close. And Daytona keeps developing, and pretty soon we're going to run out of water. And we're going to have to find a way to get more water real quick. So they want to cipher through all the, I can't say it, poop.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. On my show, I'm not playing by YouTube's rules. You can say rape, shit, Nazis, COVID. You can say
they want to cipher through all the shit. and they want to filter it out to the minimum standard of government drinking. And as a government scientist, they'll say, this is good enough to drink. Put it in your water. Coming from someone with a beer background and brewing background, you'll know water is the most important thing in beer. And if it's laced with feces, piss, hair from the drain, whatever, that affects it even at a microscopic level. That being said, I'm completely disappointed in the county council's decision to not put this on the ballot 4-3. Only need one person to switch their vote. One of the people, Jake Johansson. And as you know, that's my opponent.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
However, like, it doesn't even ban toilet tap. It just gives citizens a chance to vote. And I don't see any reason why you shouldn't have an opportunity to vote on whether or not the water that goes down your toilet gets repurposed for your drinking water straight off the bat. I think people should have a vote on that. And I don't think politicians should be thinking that they know more than us. I think they should trust voters to do their own research. And once they do their own research, I think they deserve a vote. A lot of these politicians forget that they are not leaders. They are representatives. They're here to represent their constituents. And when their constituents are concerned about something, they should educate them rather than just saying it's not happening, because it definitely is happening. Deltona, for example, went 50-50 with the state to rebuild their aquifer system to maintain this. My other opponent, Jason Voles, is getting sued by them for his slander on the matter.
Who's suing Jason Voles?
The city of Deltona.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to fill in some gaps here. A couple of things. Number one, and people get this screwed up all the time. Just because I have somebody on who doesn't think it's an issue doesn't mean I support that position. People get columnists and opinion pieces mixed up with reporting. I'm reporting almost, when I have my own opinion, it's very clear. I mean, anytime Gabe mentioned, shit in your water, I shook my head like this. If you're paying attention, I don't think it's a good idea to do toilet to tap. So people who freak out because I have Wendy Anderson on, or because I quote in a blog piece, Volusia County Council member David Santiago, and then I get phone calls like, "What are you doing? What am I doing? I'm a freaking reporter. That's what I'm doing. Give me a break."
Someone's giving you backlash on that?
Can you believe it?
It's
I'm not even going to say who because I like
That's
the
the
person.
job. It's if you're quoting the source, you're presenting the facts as they exist.
Because people, even the smartest people and greatest people, have confused, and a lot of this has to do with mainstream media, have confused what a reporter is and what a columnist is, and what somebody like is giving their. Sean Hannity gives his opinion, right? Yeah. Rachel Maddow gives their opinion. They're not reporting anything. Their opinion. They're talk show hosts who are giving their opinion. Here, as everybody knows on this show, I have you guys give your opinion. I have my baseball people give their opinions. I am not the expert. I have my own opinion. That's why it's called the opinion guy. And you'll know I don't like the idea, and everybody should be able to vote. I hope that is clear. Having said that, now I'm going to go back to now that I'm off my soapbox. Santiago. I spoke with David Santiago at the State of the County a couple of weeks ago. And I asked him about it, and he said to me, "You come up and ask me, you want toilet to tap?" I say the answer. This is, by the way, Volusia Councilman David Santiago, and he said, "I say the answer is no. He doesn't want it either." And I've said we are not going to pursue this path. We, the county council, have said that. Nothing here. There's nothing here, but there are some that keep it up. So he doesn't want it either. And he went on to say that it's stupid for people to think that he would want to poison the water he and his family drink. So he's not for it. He doesn't. He should the council have let people vote on it? Absolutely. Their idea there was wrong, but he's not for it either. Just so people just so the facts are straight on that. And
well, you should have voted yes then.
Yeah, well, I agree. They should. They should definitely. I mean, you and Gimbert and Brower, Greg Gimbert, who's leading this charge, Let Volusia Vote, and Jeff Brower, who also is on Let Volusia Vote, and you getting the petitions, you guys are right. You should be able to vote. Even if every single politician says otherwise, you should be able to vote. But know this, the state can preempt it anyway. Daytona Beach is putting it into their charter. It'll probably pass this Wednesday night. I'm pretty sure it's going to be up on the agenda for Wednesday evening. So it'll be an amendment to the charter, which means people get to vote on it. So they are actually listening to Let Volusia Vote, and are going to have them do that. In fact, Greg Gimbert gave him a lot of credit, and it's the lead in my article this week for Hometown News. They are going to do that and put in the amendment. I think you need 60% for the amendment to pass. But the city attorney for Daytona Beach said the whole thing could be preempted by the state if they want to. But in the meantime, at least you can vote. And have it in your charter. And for people who don't know, the charter is like the constitution of the city. Mm-hmm. They got to follow it no matter what, and it can only be changed with a 60% vote. That I know for a fact. So that's the situation there. And there is a Nick factor. It's disgusting. So it's a brilliant campaign. I don't know if Greg came up with that all on his own or if he did that with a group of people. But that was Greg Gimbert. But that was a brilliant campaign. Toilet to Tap works great. I mean, it really does. So kudos to him for that.
I don't know who started it, but
right.
What I will say, and something I say all the time, it is absolutely wild to me that these politicians that want to be up for re-election literally believe that people will rather eat shit than vote for someone other than them.
Yeah, yeah. Wait. Say it again. Wait, I got eat. They would. You mean say it again? I don't get you.
I think it's wild that politicians that want to be up for re-election believe that people would rather eat shit than vote for someone other than them.
You mean? I still don't follow you. Say that.
Are you saying that they're the ones who are in favor of this idea of black water or toilet water being processed to whatever degree and then reintroduced into drinking water, that they think their constituents would rather go with that than ever go and pick anyone else besides them? That they're essentially that the voters are subservient to these incumbent elected officials. Is that what you're saying there, Gabe?
Nail on the head, Michael. I've never seen so many public officials be so vocally in opposition to something that's so popular until this came. And I believe the reason is because there's only a limited amount of water per area, and you have to find a way to get this water in order to keep developing. And so many of these local politicians are in the developers' pockets. In order for them to keep developing, in order for them to keep getting these donations and whatnot, they have to find a way to keep developing. And this is the easiest fashion to do it.
Well, the idea is to not have people move here, so we'd have the water just for the residents that are already here. Now, yes, I've been here 5 years, so I'm kind of sort of like one of those people still. but they should have closed the gate after me. But
every year they vote to raise the budget. Every city, every county.
Well, that's everywhere. That's everywhere.
But that shouldn't be the goal. We should be trying to lower it.
Yes,
we need to.
You can't do that. Well, I can say
I'll do that.
My experience in bluer than blue states like California, my time in, of course, New York, they will never not spend more. And therefore, they need to tax more because they don't know how to do anything else. And their policies don't allow for anything else. Again,
Republicans don't even know how. I'll teach them.
Look, the Republicans spend like drunken sailors and Democrats spend like two drunken sailors. And that's basically what it is. So, it's not, no, it is. And
no, I'm not saying that Republicans don't spend too, but we do have some reductions. We do have some trade-off there. Not enough. Fair enough. I'm not going to say that Republicans have an imbalance there, but we at least attempt some type of balance in there on some of the issues. Democrats have no self-control whatsoever. There is a difference. There is a difference. It's
Well,
not a lot,
yeah,
but it's
right.
a difference.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you're right. Now, no, the Republicans do a little bit, but they still, in my opinion, they spend like crazy. You know, and I'm not saying, Gabe, I'm not saying that libertarians would. I like, who knows what would happen if the libertarians ever got to the point of being a strong third party. And we're on the same stage as Democrats and Republicans. Like, who knows what they would do? I mean, even Larry Sharp says, "I don't know if I'm corruptible." He'll say that. He goes, "I don't know that until I'm in office." And he willingly admits that. Which is one of the reasons why I think he's so endearing. Who knows what's going to happen? Like when the libertarians get that moment, which I hope they do someday. But they might also just be like maybe they'll spend a little bit less than Republicans. Like the Democrats spend the most, then Republicans, and then maybe spending a little bit less. But maybe they'll never balance a budget either. You never know. But I'd like to give it a shot. That's for sure, and see what happens because the two parties we have right now, in my opinion, are not doing a good enough job.
I think part of that is the problem is we have no term limits in many elected, local, state, and federal. There's many elected offices that are not term limited. And so you have people who are, their career is their politics, which opens them up to corruption of various levels. You have a system that is built around the idea of that corruption, pay to play in terms of politics. My buddies who own this business or that business are going to get this grant or that grant ahead of any other business, that kind of stuff. Or like what we see in Minnesota. Keith Ellison, Tim Walz, they turned a blind eye to a bunch of corruption that's happening. And a lot of the business owners in that state who are making that corruption then turn around and donate to their campaigns in the tens of thousands of dollars and also guarantee hundreds, if not thousands of votes for these individuals. So that's corruption.
Sure.
And I think that's something that happens. That's human nature. You leave anyone in that kind of position of power long enough, they will become corrupt. I don't care what their political party is.
Hey, Gabe. Yeah. Hey, Gabe, you're shooting there for Florida Senate. Are there term limits on the Florida Senate?
Two elections.
2 elections. How many years are each?
Sorry, couldn't think of that.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, right. 2 terms. How many years are each?
I believe it's 4.
4. Tom Wright's the guy who's leaving?
Yep.
Yeah, he is being termed out. Okay. Yeah.
I would go as far to say each term should be 1. I'd also go as far to say that it shouldn't be a paid position. I think it should be volunteer work.
Wow.
We're public service. Like, I don't know if Michael agrees with me on this or not, but I also agree that it should not be a career. It should be something that you're doing for your community.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be a celebrity out of it.
So Gabe, hold on, Mike. Gabe, you kind of put yourself on the line. I got to ask you this question. If you don't think you should get paid, are you going to get paid?
I mean, no, I plan to just continue my job as a beer sales representative.
Oh yeah. Okay. Right. I want to say this.
And you can hear it here first. If I'm elected, I'm going to donate all of my campaign or all of the money I'm get a salary as state senator to the Halifax Humane Society.
All right, cool. You got it here. I'm going to clip that one and we're going to put it out there.
No, as a man of your word, you put your name on the line. I appreciate that. I respect that. Very few people ever really do that. I only know one other. There was a Republican back in 2013, I believe, who was he was a congressional representative, and he was accepting the state average income as his income, and he was donating over 25% of his income to the IRS every year. I
remember that.
Had a bet with Warren Buffett and forced Warren Buffett to actually match his donations to the IRS voluntarily. It was the first time and only time that Warren Buffett has ever voluntarily given $1 to the United States government, even though he wants higher taxes for you and me. So that's interesting. So you'd be in a very small group of people Donald Trump, the one politician who happened to be a Republican back in 2013, and you would be about the only ones that I'm aware of that are willing to do what you said.
I don't want to give it to the government. Like, I don't trust them with my dollar. So I want to give it to a charity I enjoy, and that's the Halifax Humane Society.
That's fine. I don't care where you give it. It's just that you're doing it. That I think is the impressive part. Most people won't do that.
You know, I actually might give it to Possibilities in Port Orange, because she adopted me, my first dog, and I know for a fact that she's a no-kill shelter.
There you go. All right.
That's another great reason.
You can also split it up 50-50.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just said I was saying to Gabe he could split it 50-50 between the two.
That's true.
Yeah.
But
and you could buy me a cup of coffee. See where it says down there?
Not a dime of the salary for the state Senate position will go to me.
Wait, say it again?
I said you do have my word, though, that not a dime from the state Senate salary will go to me.
And you could also buy me a cup of coffee, as it says down here. It's actually tea. If you go to that link, it's because I don't drink coffee. I drink tea. But
I have a job, so I'll just buy you out of my own pocket.
Yeah, I wanted to say something before. You said your experience with beer. We were talking about the water and beer. That's not just because you drink it. That's because you deliver it.
I deliver it, and sometimes I brew it in my free time.
Ah, see that? Okay, so I wanted everybody to know that you weren't talking about like just guzzling it on the weekends. That your experience went beyond the actual taste of beer. It's your business.
I'm not talking about the type of water I ingest when I'm upside down on top of a keg. I'm talking about the type of water that goes into the beer when I'm adding the barley and the hops and the yeast.
Exactly. Yes. Because my experience with wine is just as a taster. I'm a taster of wine. I know nothing else about it.
That's a very respectable position, though.
It's me fine.
Yeah. You still got a few years to become an expert, but you know what? That just requires practice.
Exactly. Well, I would imagine you know a thing or two about vodka living in Moscow.
Oh, God, yes. I love vodka. Voda, as they call it.
That's great. Of course.
Vodka Vasquez over here.
There's vodka and there's Voda. Voda is water. Got to know the difference between that. And then there's Semagon, which is their bootleg homemade vodka that burns with a blue-white flame. It's basically moonshine. The stuff will knock you out. Quick story, real quick.
Yeah, sure. Go.
I was living in Moscow. This is back in 91, I believe, 90 or 91. And it was me and a bunch of expats, people from a bunch of different countries, mostly the Irish. And they came over to my dacha, my apartment, and we were just hanging out. We were in between bars. And I said, hey, I got some of the Semagon. And you want some? Because they had never tried it. So, yeah, we'll try it. Pulled out a bunch of teacups. Regular fill of a teacup. Nothing, not filling it to the brim or anything. Gave everyone a teacup. We all had it. Everyone passed out.
Oh, my God.
We are talking about hard charging. We were all hard charging, drinking people in our 20s, mid 20s, early 30s. Every single one of them, man and woman, every body shape you can think of. Everybody passed out. Everyone passed out for about. We were out for like half an hour. That's how powerful that stuff was.
Holy smokes!
And it tasted just like water. It was fantastic.
Anyway, really? That's amazing. Well, that's something. So, we're kicking off the show here tonight. You're doing some tracking some stories, like toilet to tap. We're going to keep on top of that. And
have you had Greg on yet?
MM Donnie, hold on, and MM Donnie as well. And also one that I promised we'd keep on top of is Don Lemon, which there really isn't much going on, but I don't want anybody to think that we forgot. I mean, the only thing that's come out in the news, like in the last 24 hours, is that he had tried to get Rachel Maddow to publicly support him, and she refused. She isn't rushing to do it, according to RadarOnline.com. Don has always been a fan of Rachel's, and he wanted her validation for years, but she's not interested in doing that. At least not right now. So she's not stupid. No, she's not, right? But she's wrong in a lot of things, that's for sure. But she's a horrible presenter. I don't think she's good at her job at all, but apparently other people do. So let's go to some national. Oh, I'm sorry. You asked me a question. I did not, but my understanding, I have an open invitation for Greg. But Greg Gimbert, by the way, is the driving force behind letting the residents of Volusia County vote toilet to tap or not. But he doesn't like, he's not a big speech maker, even though he'll do it for this cause. And instead of having him on, I had Jeff Brower on at Greg's suggestion. But Greg can come on anytime, and I think it's time to get somebody. Jeff was already on, so I don't want him on for this topic again. But somebody from that group should come on, because I've had a lot of people on this show and in my writing who are saying it's no big deal. And I like to be fair. So Greg, if you want, Greg has an open invitation. He knows that we talk every two weeks or so, and I see him at the council meetings, and so he knows you can come on. Just hit me up, and we'll schedule you. Or if you got somebody else that you want on, I love Jeff Brower as well, but since he's already on to talk about it, I would like to have somebody else from that group come on, just to equal time. You know what I mean? I've had a lot of people, and in my writing, say that it's no big deal. And it'll never happen. So let's get the other side on. Once again, I'm all for that. So let's just go to some national stuff here. And this was the Donald Trump lift the sanctions on Russian oil. And I felt this way, and believe it or not, Adam Schiff felt this way too, that we're basically enriching Russia, who is fighting Ukraine. So that's going to help them there. And we're enriching Russia, who is allied with Iran. So what the F? It's like Russia literally gets their drones from Iran. We're going to start paying the sanctions. The world is more free now to do business, legally with Russia. Not that it wasn't being done before anyway, but legally with Russia more than before. And what are they going to do with that money? Do you think they're going to help Iran? They come out and said they're publicly supporting Iran and all this. So how does this make sense at all? Gabe, it looks like Mike. I know, Mike, you can hear me, but Gabe, since you're on the screen at the moment, is this a good idea to lift sanctions on Russian oil?
I mean, if you ask the average American how it makes sense to them, you go to the gas station, gas is $3.99 a gallon. Like, I'm down from some oil, and I don't really care where we get it. I believe in free trade. I mean, the question more so would be, where are we selling our weapons to? And we wouldn't be in this position in the first place if we weren't policing the world. I know. Oh, yep. I was about to call out Michael shaking his head, but
Mike has to take a leave after the show every Monday night.
Some of the things you and Jill come up with. Oh God! But
no,
I'm the average American here.
No, I respect you, and I'm happy to hear you guys say things that I don't agree with, and I know I say a bunch of stuff you definitely don't agree with.
I'm the average American making less than $100,000 a year, driving all day, every day for work, and pulling up to the gas station, and instead of $30 to fill up my tank, it's $40 to fill up my tank. And it kills me. I mean, what happened to Venezuela? What happened to Maduro, the biggest oil reserves in the world? I thought we were getting that oil. What happened to that? Like, we went and broke international law so that we can not have the oil? No, you're right. We didn't. You're right, Michael. No, we didn't.
I love it.
We broke international law so that we could have the oil. That was the only upside of it. I'm looking forward to those cheap gas prices and the largest oil reserve in the world. And where are they?
Okay, so
instead we're buying from Russia. Like, I'm ready for our gas prices to go down. I don't want to go to a gas station and see a sticker of Trump saying I did this. Okay, well, what are your thoughts, Michael?
So let's clarify a couple of points, because you make some good points of things that should be explained or at least understood by the American people. The national average, by the way, is 371. Florida we're on the higher end of that calculation, and the average for the state of Florida is 374. So your area might be even a little bit higher than that, kind of like New York City's higher than the rest of New York State on a lot of things. So that may be why it may be $3.99 there. And in fact, the price of oil just dropped to $94 a barrel. Right now, all of this is moving because of emotion. It has nothing to do with anything factual. It has nothing to do with the oil in Venezuela, which we are getting at a discount, and it is coming to America. But another misunderstanding that a lot of people have. We don't process the oil. The oil has to go back overseas. Any oil, whether we're bringing it up here in the United States or we're buying it from other parts of the world, we then have to process it because for some dumb reason, and mostly because of eco fanatics, we are not allowed to develop and process oil. Matter of fact, Donald Trump is just announced last week that the first oil processing plant in 50 years. He's now backing, and we're going to have this will be, I think, the third or fourth processing plant for oil to turn it into gasoline and into diesel and all the other products. We don't have enough of them. And if you do that, that both brings down our dependence on internationally shipping this stuff and the price. It'll be a massive decrease. It'll be a massive boon to the United States in terms of self-sufficiency and in terms of pricing. So when you say, oh, well, we're getting the oil from Venezuela. Yeah, but it's getting processed. It takes time. And part of that processing is overseas, which has to be shipped. And part of that goes on oil tankers, which happen to be right now tied up in the Strait of Hormuz because of Iran, which we're trying to free up. And we are getting help on that. And that is happening, but it takes time. But here's the thing. Most people are looking at all of this short term. We have to look long term. Almost everything that is going on with Venezuela, what's happening with Iran, what's happening with Cuba, these are long-term 10 to 20-year plans to improve the safety and the economic stability of the United States, as well as global stability based on reducing the amount of terror and funding for global terror. So this is a long-term plan. Now,
got a question for you, Mike.
Go ahead.
Got a question for you on that. Does it make sense for a president? A president only has 8 years at best. Trump obviously is down to what, 2.5 now.
Right.
Does it make sense to have plans that are 10 or 20 years? Because when he's out of office, the whole thing could change anyway. So what's the rationale in doing that?
Well, the rationale is hopefully we would, and I would like to believe this, I don't know, to some extent, 60, 70, 80%, whatever the number is, that both Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, the currently leading in figures to run in 2028, that they agree with this program. They are aware, because of their position in the administration right now, they know what the end goal is meant to be. They understand the process to get us there. And I would like to believe that to some better than 50% percentage, they agree with that end point and that process. They may make alterations to it. They think this thing, tweak it a little bit to make this part or that part goes a little bit faster, but they agree with the end point. That's why they're in the administration. That's why they have the positions they have. That's why they get to speak to Trump every single day about these things. And I'm sure they're having their influence in it right now. So that's why you do it, because it's not about one president. It's about improving America, which is the goal, theoretically, of every president. And so certain things would carry from one president to the next. You don't have to trash everything the president before you did. If they did the right thing for America, then you would just leave those programs alone and move on to something else. We just have had a very bad series of people like Obama, who was definitely trying to transform America, we now know, into socialism, which was bad. We reversed that with Trump. Biden tried to backtrack us back into, Obama 2.0 and tried to, and severely wounded America on a long-term basis, especially with the open borders and allowing terrorists into our nation, which is a fact. That's a documented fact. So it's not even disputable. And now we see Trump is trying to correct Biden's correction to his correction to Obama. It's a chain, but it doesn't have to exist. We've just seen it consistently for over a decade. Should we remove the sanctions for Russia, which was the original question? And the answer to that is, now that we understand some of the other background factors involved here, and that we're dealing with a short-term pain with a long-term, and whether it's guaranteed or not is a different question, but the goal is a long-term gain. Yes, we lift the sanctions temporarily, as has been stated by Trump. This is a temporary action to help Europe, not the United States. This isn't to help us. This is to help the rest of the world. The rest of the world, outside of China, outside of Iran, it is to help the rest of the world, which are in desperate need of the oil that's been trapped by Iran in the Strait of Hormuz. And until we can open that up, they still need oil. They still need gasoline, petroleum, the diesel. They need these products for their countries to function, for their people to live. So this is an act of war. You have to balance. It's a balancing act. Do we take off a couple of sanctions? Will Russia make an extra couple of billion, $10 billion here or there? Yes. But the counteroffer is, well, how many tens of thousands of people around the world are we going to allow to die if we don't do that? Because they need that oil. So I think that in this case, because it is a wartime scenario, yes, you make that decision. You make that compromise temporarily. The key is that it is temporary, and that we go back, and perhaps even this may even help with the sanctions, because remember, it's the sanctions that forced Russia to work with China and Iran, which then gave Iran the opportunity to trade money for the drones that are being used by Russia against Ukraine. We're now breaking that cycle that they have been in. If Russia is able to go directly to the world markets without having to go to Iran, who they don't like, or having to go to China, who they don't like, ideologically, those countries hate each other. They only work together because they have no other choice. If we're giving Russia another choice, this helps us, one, in breaking that cycle, and two, in giving them a reason to actually have a peace deal with the Ukraine, so that they can get even more back into the regular markets.
All right. So you know what? You're that's a great segue into the second part of my question here. It sounds like to me you're saying sanctions don't work, because those sanctions forced Russia to deal with China, forced Russia to deal with Iran, and also stalled a peace plan with Ukraine. So are you against sanctions in general?
No, because we used the wrong sanctions. Sanctions in and of themselves are a tool. They're part of a whole kit of tools. That's how they're supposed to be used. Just like tariffs are part of a kit of tools.
All right. Well, if you were president, what would you have done differently in this case?
The problem with Ukraine goes back to Clinton. We screwed up then.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of options. We screwed up with Clinton when he took away the nukes from Ukraine.
Right.
We further added to that problem. We compounded that problem with Obama when he allowed and negotiated for Russia to come in and take the Crimea, which gave them, we knew the second Russia got the Crimea, there was going to be another war. There had to be. Russia had to connect to the Crimea. There was going to be another conflict. And we never prepared for it. And we didn't prepare the American people for it. So here we are now at the crux of all these problems, because we had a weak president, that was Joe Biden, that gave the opportunity. Putin had every assurance that Joe Biden wasn't going to do a damn thing, because he was a part-time zombie president.
That does sound like a very good Republican president. You blamed every Democrat president in the past 20 years, past 30 years.
I'm blaming them for their policies and their actions on the policies, not because they're Democrats, because of their policies. It is. I
kind of want to go back to your first rebuttal, though, about.
Oh no! Hold on, Gabe. I asked Mike if he's for what he would do if he was president. That's okay. Right. What he would do if he was president.
Right. So I'm trying to explain why there's a limited set of options there, and that's why I gave the background of this is how we got here. So in that scenario, there's very, very few things. What I would have done is a complete trade embargo.
Complete what?
First thing, a complete trade embargo. So that means
Okay.
we have not only sanctions internationally, we also have tariffs, very much like what we see with Trump right now, 150%. If we're going to have the war, and we are having a war, and we're using Ukraine as our proxies to have the ground war, the economic war has to be fought as seriously and as strongly. And we do 150%. And if we catch them trading with China or with Iran, basically anyone breaks that sanction, fantastic. They get hit with 200%. We make it virtually impossible for them to economically exist as a society. Now, in doing that, it will be painful for the United States. It will have a backlash on some prices of some goods here. And there will be many nations that will complain about that. And they probably would have turned off the oil and gas for Northern Europe. That means Germany in particular, and Poland as well. They would have cut off their oil and gas. We would have, at the same time, I would have opened up the oil fields in Alaska and removed some of the restrictions on the coastlines for drilling so that we could become a net exporter, so that we could make up the difference for Europe, so that they would comply with our economic warfare at the same time that the Ukrainians are dealing with the physical warfare. That, I think, is the best outlook. But it means a couple of years of severe pain for the United States people and some of the other nations, first world nations in the world. And a lot of people would be upset, but that would have been a better plan.
Okay. All right, Gabe, what was your question going to be?
You mentioned about how it takes a lot of processed oil from Venezuela. I was just wondering, like, how long will it take before we can actually taste just a little bit of that liquid ebony gold and get the oil that we need to make gasoline, to make gas more affordable in this country? Okay.
It already is, and it will be more so going forward. Here's the thing people misunderstand. Again, I have to mention, the price of oil, the price of gas at this moment is not moving because of supply and demand yet. It's moving because of emotion. All markets move on emotion first, and then they correct on actual fact. That's why at this moment, you go and check, oil prices are at $94 a barrel, not 100, and not the 150 that Morgan Stanley promised 2 weeks ago. And yes, there is volatility. It's bouncing between 94 and 97, but it's not breaking 100. It's not going to a brand new high. And it's nowhere near. Back in August of 2022, we had 22% inflation in the United States. Gasoline was $5.02 a barrel, a gallon in the United States. That's without the U.S. being in a war. $5.02. So Donald Trump is keeping the price of oil down significantly. And we haven't released the emergency reserves, which were virtually depleted by Joe Biden when he was trying to bring down the price of oil, even though inflation was at an average of 17% over his 4 years. In 2022 was at a peak of 22%. So we are seeing that Donald Trump is positively managing, to some extent, the gas and oil prices, and the world has some confidence in that.
I didn't say anything about Donald Trump, though. I'm talking about when we're going to start seeing the money from the Venezuela, because gas prices have only gone up since we took Maduro.
Yeah, but I'm telling you that we are seeing it. That's why prices, people are saying the price is up. It should have been higher. It has been predicted to be higher. Everyone, all of the people who are this brilliant people, the traders that have been making their predictions, are all significantly higher. They were expecting $4.25 by now for a gallon of gas. Will it maybe get there? Yes. But but it was supposed to already be there. We were supposed to already be at $150 a gallon of oil, a barrel of oil, It was supposed to be $150 already. It's not, because we are seeing this is the reduced price during wartime.
I got you. So you're saying Venezuela, You're saying the oil that we're getting from Venezuela is keeping the price lower than it would have been otherwise if we didn't do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact,
Now,
that's part of the reason why we did. Yeah.
I don't know if it was this week on 60 Minutes or last week. They were talking about the oil reserves. It was probably this week, and they said it takes 3 months when you release oil from like the oil reserves. So I don't know if you can use that as a barometer, but you're saying we're feeling it already from Venezuela, and that happened about 3 months ago, right? Didn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So the 60
3.5
minutes
months ago.
Yeah, so 60 Minutes said like the oil that's going to be released. Trump announced last week, right? The oil's he's going to release strategic reserves, and so many other countries are too. They say it takes about 3 months. 60 Minutes did for that oil to actually be felt in the market. Joel has a comment.
Yep.
He says that media would start an article about Vass with far-right extremist commentator Michael Vass. Yes,
He's right. They do. They've actually done that before. I've had them do that before.
You're right about that. But he says he's not. And that's, I think Joe saw that part of the show. He said he's
far
not
right.
far right. He's
Not
not
far
far right. Yeah. So all right. So does sanctions work, Gabe? Do you like sanctions as a tool?
No, I don't. I'm a strong believer in free trade.
Okay. So what would you do instead in a situation like Russia? If you were in let's skip the Florida Senate. Let's say you're you're a United States senator, and you have to weigh in on Russia invading Ukraine. What would you want the president to do? What would you say to the president in a private conversation? How he should handle that, or she, in this imaginary scenario?
Honestly, with that, I agree with Michael 100%. I mean, not for the same reasons, though, but I mean, why are we going to hurt the American citizens based on what's happening between us policing the world? We need to look at us, and unfortunately, because we are the police of the world, other countries, and if they're the ones with the cheapest oil we need to buy, regardless of what they're going to do with the money that we give them, it's a catch-22. We eat it. I mean, if we're, like I said, like I would also agree with Michael on drilling in Alaska. There's plenty of oil there. I've spoken with Democrats before, and they're saying like, we have no business going into foreign countries and invading them. Like, I'm like, why do you think we're doing that? And they're like, we're doing it for oil. I'm like, I agree. There's plenty of good oil here in Alaska. And that's when I would lose them. So
yeah,
I'm kind of in the middle there. Like I don't think we need to be over there, especially not for oil. However, we have plenty of good oil here. Just stay at home and frack.
Yeah. So I think we're all in agreement on this term right here.
Drill, baby, drill. Oh yeah, I'm good with that one.
Yeah, me too.
Now there is a caveat to that. One thing I would suggest to people, which again most people aren't thinking forward. There's something to always remember. We always, as it is in our national interest, we want to use up everyone else's oil in the world before we use all of ours.
That's a great idea.
So there is a limit to, I do want more, and we can with the shale that we have, with the oil reserves that we have, the technology we have, we can do better than what we have been doing because the left won't allow us to do it because, climate change, because, the planet doesn't change its climate, whether humans have been here or not, 17 times already, but that's besides
exactly.
We can do better, but we always have to keep in mind, can't use it all. We got to keep some. There is some percentage. We should have some control over this because when everyone else runs out, we still want to maintain our quality of life, which will allow us to develop something that actually does function, which is not renewable energy. Solar panels, wind doesn't work, never has worked. We've been trying it for 80 years. It's a failure. Stop with that stupidity. We're talking about making better nuclear reactors, and hopefully one day fusion instead of fission. But that's a future thought. But that's something we should always keep in mind.
Yes. And this is a fine time for me to remind everybody that we are in an ice age. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration actually has it on their website. We are in an ice age, and they last about 3 million years. And within each ice age, there's a good 10 or 11,000 years where, believe it or not, the Earth heats up. And like Michael said, he said 17 times it's happened. And guess what? Guess what's still here? Humans. We're still here, and we will still be here. And one day, mark my words, one day, people who believe in global warming are going to be laughed at like people who believe that the world was flat, because it ain't happening. The cities aren't going away. It's a bunch of crap. We're in an ice age, and in every ice age, it heats up and then it cools down. And that's the fact, according to the NOAA and other state agencies. Go look it up. I'm not making it up. And if you don't believe me, hit me up and I'll send you the freaking link myself. Nothing to worry about. So stop the nonsense already and enjoy the hot weather while you can. so I will never miss a moment to tell people that. So there's that. All right. Listen, folks, I also want to tell you to like, comment, and share. We are at 1 hour and 45 minutes, and I still got stuff to do here as far as news I want to cover. But like, comment, and share, as well as subscribe. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to buy me a cup of coffee or tea, I do like tea. Just go to buymeacoffee.com/Chuck Long Island, or just go to my Chuck Long Island page, and there's a big link right there that says buy me tea. Support independent journalism, support this show. And that would be very much appreciated. So, guys, we're going to talk about COVID. And I am going to mix COVID and baseball because there was a story that came out earlier this month that a former Chicago White Sox pitcher is suing the White Sox and is alleging he was coerced into taking the COVID-19 vaccine and that the shot left him with permanent autonomic nervous system disorder that ended his career. So let's start with you, Gabe, on this one. Does he, do you think we're going to see more of these? Does he have a leg to stand on by saying that he was forced to take this vaccine? Otherwise he couldn't pursue his career, and it ended up ruining his career. So does he have a leg to stand on as far as getting some kind of recompense from the Chicago White Sox?
From the Chicago White Sox, no. I mean, I'd say he has as much of a leg to stand on as I do. I didn't want to take the vaccine, but in order to work in Japan the summer that I did, I had to get the vaccine in order to not be quarantined for the entire duration of my employment there. I believe unless it's a public job for the U.S. government, then you don't really have a leg to stand on. You sign up with a private company, and I believe in the rights of private business to operate how they see fit. If you're a public official or a police officer, that's a different story. I don't think that the government has a right to tell you to put this in your bloodstream or else you're fired. But for private companies such as the White Sox or Walmart or McDonald's or whatever, then no. That's what your job told you to do. And unless the government forced that job to tell you to do that, then that's just the business that you decide to do business with. It doesn't matter how high profile your job is. I don't see him at any higher of a position than myself.
Okay. So why is it different for police and fire?
Because that's the U.S. government or the state government or the county government or the city government
I got you.
telling you what to do.
Got it. Got it. Okay. You did say that. I missed that. Yeah.
They are public service, and there's nothing about public service that says that they're forcing you to put this in your bloodstream.
All right. How about you, Mike? What do you think? Do you think he has a case? Do you think that this is something we're going to see more of as time goes by?
He has a good case. He's going to win his case. There will be other cases. His case is not broad enough. he should be suing the government as well, because the government mandates, as they were dictated by Joe Biden, as he mentioned very clearly, the threat that those who are not vaccinated were a threat to the public, to public safety. He scolded people December 2022. He was scolding the American people, 2021. He was scolding them for, how dare you not obey? You must get this or you are endangering jobs. He literally created an environment where it was dangerous and you were being persecuted and punished for not obeying a mandate that the government can't put out there. The government cannot tell any of its workers that they must have this or that medical, any kind of treatment. They can't do that. That's for existing workers. It's one thing if they say there is a requirement of the position to be hired in that position to have X qualifications, certain criteria. Mm-hmm. But to change the criteria after you have the job, and this is, I believe, is also true for when we're talking about private business, you can't change the criteria you hired me on after the fact. We made an agreement. The law said, these are the criteria. I qualified the criteria good enough to get hired. You cannot mandate my change without changing my contract, without changing the terms of the employment. And that means you have to also take into account, I have to be compensated for this mandate if I choose to accept it. He absolutely should win that case, as should millions of others. That's why we've already seen, in the case in New York State, 35,000 doctors and nurses were fired by Kathy Hochul because they did not believe in the medication and the lockdowns and that mandate, and they refused to accept it. These are frontline first responders that had already been doing the job for a couple of years and didn't need it. And yet she was mandating. She fired 35,000. She also fired 11,000 police officers and I think a similar number of fire department. And judges have come out and said, no, you have to offer to each and every one of those individuals their positions back, plus the back pay they would have made, because you're wrong. You didn't have the authority to do so. And that is the precedent that I believe will give the White Sox, that's going to put the White Sox in trouble, because they made a change in the contract. They mandated him and would have otherwise blackballed him from the industry, baseball in this case. It was public. It was a public persecution, because if he didn't do it, they would have fired him and said, well, it's because he's endangering the life of the public. No other team would pick him up on that. His livelihood would have been destroyed. His reputation would have been destroyed. This is them strong-arming and coercing him. And they did so because the government was coercing them. And we know the government did coerce many, many industries, including entertainment, to push their message.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because during the Iran war, the war that's going on right now with Iran, the United Arab Emirates which is a kingdom, was accused, suspicion that they're working with influencers to make it sound like everything is fine and they got it all under control as the drones come in and the debris falls from the drones, but it's all fine, everything's. And your first thought, as for many Americans or anybody in a free country, supposedly free country, is to say, like, oh my God, I can't believe how they're doing that, and how they're lying to their people, and how they can, be in cahoots with their influences. And then all of a sudden I go to myself, yeah, but that's what Biden did. Biden put pressure on social media. So it's like, so you think you're free, people? Yeah. Our government acted like the kingdom in UAE. So think about that the next time somebody says we have freedom in America. No, you're freer. You're not free. We're rats in a maze. Put that in your hat and smoke it. Pipe. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Don't smoke your hat. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I'm 2 hours in. I'm gonna get my cliches mixed up. All right, I'm gonna hand it over to Joel. He's got a comment. And Joel says, if they allow people to sue employers for a vaccine injury, there'll be an avalanche of lawsuits. Many companies backtracked and claimed they never demanded vaccinations. Yeah, I kind of heard things like that for sure. Yeah. I mean, I could see that happening. I could see there being an avalanche, especially if he wins. I bet a lot of people are going to wait to see what happens, right, Gabe? They'll see what happens. And if he wins, then maybe then there'll be, an avalanche, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, I just believe that I believe in like working isn't a right, it's a privilege. And if the company decides they want you to do a certain thing and you don't do it, then you have the right to quit. And even if you're a baseball player, find a team that will allow you to. Like the New York Mets with Aaron Rodgers, or be a bagger at Publix. There's plenty of jobs available. It doesn't always have to be so high class. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's a private decision. And if the government did spread misinformation about that, they should be held responsible for sure. Which, I mean, it's not really an if, but it's more of a they did spread misinformation about this.
Yes.
However, I don't believe it falls on the private sector to be held responsible for what the CDC told them. I know I, as a libertarian, never trust the government.
Yeah.
However, most day-to-day people think of the government as a trusted source. And if the CDC tells you that this is going to save you, then they're inclined to listen.
What blows my mind about... Oh, go ahead.
But like I mentioned, if you're like, forget about the fact that they're baseball players. Say they're working at Wendy's. If they're working at Wendy's and they say, you need to put this in your bloodstream or you can't work here anymore. And Burger King says, hey, you can work at Burger King, then go work at Burger King. Like, this is your employer's decision.
Gotcha.
And what Michael said about the contracts, like, if the contracts mention that it's not subject to change, then that's a whole other issue. But if there's wiggle room for them to legally be allowed to, I haven't looked at this player's contract, but there's wiggle room to say that they're allowed to change the stipulations of the contract, and they signed it, and that's on them. And I'm not one to defend COVID vaccines by any means. I worked in Alaska when the COVID first hit, where there was no regulations at all. And it was great not having to wear a mask and be able to breathe.
No, I agree with you in much of that, but any employment is a contract, whether or not it's a written contract. So it doesn't matter if they're baseball players or not. If I am hired based on criteria and I am hired on that criteria, then if you change the requirements and say, no, now you're subject to a new set of rules, we have to have a new discussion. That's a new deal. You're negotiating for a new contract with me. It's not the same deal.
I haven't read the contract. Have you?
Huh?
I haven't read the contract. Have you? I mean, I imagine they're big contracts, and there might be something that says you must comply with all medical jargon and whatnot.
Any lawyer who's worth their salt would never allow that. If you have any halfway decent lawyer, and even if you're in the step away from baseball, because they do have good lawyers, they absolutely would not allow that kind of wiggle in the contract. But even a Wendy's employee, because remember, in that environment, the government had coerced every business, especially if you said, "Oh, I'm the fry guy at Wendy's." You couldn't be the fry guy at McDonald's or at Burger King or any other chain. You could not, because the government was saying this is a mandate for all of those industries, for every industry. If they had to touch the public even once a day, you had to do this, or else that company, that business, that owner would suffer. They were penalizing people without a crime, very much like red flag laws. There is no crime but yet there is a penalty. And that penalty also comprises a public aspect of it, as well as other punitive action. And that is enough to destroy a business. That public publicity, that pressure is more than enough. So you didn't have an option to say, oh, you know what, screw you, I'm quitting and I'm going to go somewhere else. There is nowhere else to go. You have been isolated. You've been trapped. You have been forced. It is coercion. Therefore, now that we know better, and the only excuse then was, well, this is how we save your life and every life, which someone could say, well, that's the position, that's the purpose of government, to protect lives from things we cannot protect ourselves from. Except
and that's what goes to my point, that it's the government's fault rather than the private businesses.
No, it's both, because the private business had the obligation to stand up for its rights and the rights of its employees. That's part of its contract with the employees, that it's going to stand up for its own survival and therefore their economic well-being. It didn't. They complied. And because of their and it's a series of, as you go up the chain from the individual all the way up to the government, you have a series of checks and balances that should have taken place to prevent this from going further, whether you're going from government down to the individual up. There's a series of checks and balances where people should have stepped in and said, no, you've gone too far. This is illegal. This is wrong. And a lot of people did. And a lot of businesses did. Those businesses went out of business. A lot of people lost their jobs and their income, including myself. It cost me my home. I lost literally 95% of everything I own because I did not comply. I became impoverished, lost my home and everything I owned. It was a choice that was due to coercion.
So just to add some context here, he was in the minor leagues. I know on the major league level, you had the option whether or not to get the shot. Because I know there were some Cardinals who did not get the shot, and Canada wouldn't let ball players come to play in Toronto if they weren't fully vaccinated. So the Cardinals had to leave some of their players behind when they went into Toronto to play. He was in the minor leagues. I don't know if the minor leagues were players were being allowed the option or not. But if he was a major leaguer, which he wasn't, then he could have left and tried to sign on with another team. I guess, but maybe he'd be breaking his contract. You just can't leave for the sake of leaving because you have a contract with a team. So he would have to negotiate out of that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't know. I wonder why he's not suing Major League Baseball as well, unless the headline just went with the White Sox because it's more, headline grabbing. It's more attention grabbing to name the team instead of the league. But we'll see. We'll follow that one too. I'm very anti. Look, my opinion on the vaccine is if you go get it every day if you want. Like I don't care. That's your my body, my choice is not just for abortion. My body, my choice is for every aspect of your life, including the vaccine. I didn't get it. I am proudly unvaxxed. I would never get that thing. I told my family that. I don't trust the government. I'm not doing it. And oh boy, was I right. So there you go. We got some comments I want to get to here. Gracie says, yes, absolutely. They have a massive platform. Who's they? I don't remember what that's in regards to. Does anybody remember what that's in regards to? I think she's
talking about baseball, that the baseball industry has a massive platform. And so the pressure is increased because of that.
Oh, the pressure to get okay. All right. Thanks for the clarification. And Adirondack, as far as the deal you have with your employer, I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. Yeah. And let's just see. Andrew checks in, and Andrew says it's not just the idea that they needed to get vaccinated. They also needed proof that they were negative in the form of a stupid buggy app asking for all your info. Yeah, I don't get that one either. What does he mean?
During the process, many states and the government was promoting an app on your phone and or on your computer that would list everybody who had taken the test and who had a negative result. So that was your clearance. Basically, you had to have papers I forget what it was called at the time.
Union papers. It was called the Freedom Pass in New York City, which was the biggest joke in the world because you weren't free. You were being coerced to take. And de Blasio sat there and was like, "You can eat." He was trying to encourage people to get the vaccine, and he was eating. They were giving away like free hamburgers, so they're giving away more poison. Take poison forced by the government, and we'll give you the reward of having something super unhealthy. I mean, a lot of sense, de Blasio. What a moron! All right,
the Freedom Pass was the expression of the underlying law. That was the pin of it, and so that's what he's talking about. Is that legislation?
Yeah.
The forward looking of it was the Freedom Pass, but it was backed up with computers, with your personal history, medical data, and so forth that the government had control of, which is also a violation of right to privacy.
Yeah, and I had to stay. I visited family, and we had to stay. We had a great time, but we had to stay in my nephew's apartment because I was unvaccinated and I wasn't free to move around New York City. I could go there, but I couldn't go eat in a restaurant because you're not really free in America. That's the thing for this evening. You're freer. Andrew continues, and he says, now they know how we feel when we get boot from one side of the border. All right, Arrivacan. Anybody know what that means?
The app that he's speaking about.
Oh, is that what it was called? Okay.
There were a couple of them. That may have been one of them.
And there was also a fry. So you got burgers and fries. That's amazing. Yeah, go eat burgers and fries. Why didn't the government just say, can you try to be healthy? The only people who were dying were people with comorbidities. Why didn't we promote health? Instead, we promoted a mystery vaccine that had to be rushed. Look, if I was the president of the United States, I would have rushed it to market. Yeah, Trump had no choice. You know what I mean? But the problem was they shouldn't have made it sound like it was the be all end all. They should have said, we rush this to market because we need something. Hopefully there'll be a better one down the road. This is all we got now. Here's the pluses. Here's the minuses. You decide. I feel like a libertarian would have done that. Was that something a libertarian would have done, Gabe?
Well, if we want to lie to the people, people are still getting COVID today. There's no vaccination.
Joke.
You just have a thing you put in your veins that hopefully doesn't kill you and hopefully makes the side effects a lot less bad.
Yeah. No, it was a really bad idea. And Mike, I take it you didn't get vaxxed.
I let people guess on that one for a lot of reasons, but I'm not an advocate of the experimental medications that have no history and no understanding on the long-term consequences.
Exactly. I'm not anti-vax. I think most people who didn't get it are not anti-vax. You just anti a mystery serum. I mean, I get vax. I get the flu vax every year, just about. Like why not? I mean, it's been around forever. People aren't dying from it. Like we know it's safe. Like somebody said one time, there's nothing that's safe for everybody, and they kept on saying aspirin is not safe for everybody, and they kept. Oh my God, it's just like I'm just like so beside myself. Yeah, the rugged American.
There is no. You knew that Biden was lying when he said it's completely safe. There is no medication that has been created by man that does not have a side effect. Does not exist. It's never existed before. It never will exist. Right. Therefore, that thing had some side effects. We didn't know what they were, which means it's completely experimental. And everyone who got a jab was part of the case study that normally takes 7 years before it even gets to human experimentation.
Yes.
And they were part of that final phase 3 test. And I didn't want to do that. I don't think anyone really wanted to do that, but a lot of people were forced, which is why the lawsuit, I think, will go forward, just like we see in New York State. New York City and New York State lost in courts about firing the doctors, the nurses, and the fire department.
Yep.
We're going to lose.
100%. Yeah, I agree. And I agree with Andrew said right there. Anti-being told what to do. Oh, man, that's me for sure. Yep, absolutely. My mom, I tell you, real quick story. My mom said the first sentence that ever came out of my mouth was, I don't want to. And I've been like that ever since. You tell me to do something, I'm like, oh man, that's bad. I was in an argument with a woman that I lived with once, and she tried to tell me to do something, and I said to her, I said, there are only 3 people in the world who could tell me what to do: my mother, my father, and my stepmother. And to this day, if my stepmother ordered me to do something, I like, Chuck, give me the salt. I'd be like, okay, here you go. Outside of that, there's like nobody who tells me what to do. Anti being told what to do, 100%. I agree, Andrew. 100%. All right, folks. I think I've kept you guys around long enough tonight. Is there anything we didn't cover? Any news that you get? Anything that a burning issue that we didn't cover? Think we did a good job covering topics this evening, folks? I do.
I think so. Yeah. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah. Hal had a comment. I missed Hal's comment, huh? Let's bring that one up. Yeah. Hal had a comment. Sorry about that one. I didn't see that one. Hal, did you hear about the Harvard study that looked at death among people that got the COVID vaccine? Oh man, yeah. I actually was gonna have somebody on. I don't know, for some reason. I was speaking to somebody in City Hall who has long COVID, who has a vaccine injury. I'm sorry, vaccine injury. And I was going to have her on, and she should definitely swing back around, man. I'd love to get her story out there. And react.org, if anybody wants to see it, has stories like what you're talking about, Hal, all the time. And I gotta pursue that for sure. I don't know where that came from, but
yeah, I get it. She's talking about in reference to the Harvard study. Essentially, there's several studies that are out from several major institutions, as well as the WHO, the CDC, other organizations, internationally credible sources around the world. Many of them have many different results. Some are saying, and there is a growing consensus, that one, we know there are side effects. We do know that there seem to be strains, depending on which injection you may have may have received, that it does exist against young Black men, that they are a target that to some degree, whether it's 0.5%, 5%, we don't know clearly yet, but there does seem to be a correlation, at least at this time, which was initially denied and said didn't exist. And now we know it does exist. We just don't know how severe or what other factors may be involved. It's too early. Anyone who says, I have a definitive study that says this is it, is a liar. The process, most people don't know this. And I learned this because I was a stockbroker. I invested my clients' money in pharmaceuticals a lot. And I can tell you, the process is a 7 to 10 year process. It's a 10-year process. And if they fast track it like AIDS drugs, then it takes 7 years to get to the stage where we're testing on humans so that we can find out what these side effects are. We skipped all that. No one has a definitive answer at this time. No one understands the long-term impact or even the short-term impact. We don't even know what the side effects are clearly yet. So I do not take as definitive, no matter what it says. Whether it agrees or disagrees with anything I believe, doesn't matter. None of them are definitive. We won't know for another 5 years. And at that point, we'll have enough data, at least we hope we will, because not all the data is being accepted by the CDC, the WHO, certain larger institutions that rely on government grants. Not all of them are actually accepting the data, because we saw that during the time. There is a process for doctors when they have medications and they think they're seeing an adverse strain or some new side effect. There's a process for them to contact the CDC and other agencies and make them aware of this so that they can get the data and say, across five dozen hospitals across America or across Canada or wherever, that there's this new thing happening as a side effect. Could be production, could be a lot of reasons, but this is happening. We need to track that. We need to do something about that, perhaps, because it's now over a threshold of 2 or 5% affecting the population, and we have to act. And then they put out a guidance to doctors and to the world. What we saw during the time of the jab is doctors were making these notifications, and the CDC ignored it, threw it away, and said, nope, we're not looking at that data. So there are problems here, a lot of problems.
Absolutely. So just to get back up to the food that was being offered by the de Blasio administration, if you got the jab, the burger you got, a free burger. But then he said, wait, there's also a fry element to this. And then he also said, Hal also says, did you hear about, oh, we got that one. Yeah, I was catching up on all your ones here, Hal. I saw that you had a few there. And Gabe, you got a fan in Gracie. Good luck. Florida's becoming.
I tried connecting my YouTube, but I can't reply to her. My YouTube connection's not working.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Yeah, well,
I'm trying to reply to her.
Yeah. All right, that's awesome. Hopefully Gracie lives around here and she can vote for you. That would be really cool.
Sounds like she's in Brevard, so it depends where she's at in Brevard.
Oh, okay. All righty. And Hal says that the conclusion I cited is definitive. All right.
Again,
keep going. Oh, yep, she's in. There you go. Are you in Brevard County, Gabe? If you already have mentioned that, my apologies. So are you represent? Is Brevard's part of your district?
Only North Brevard because it's gerrymandered.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
There's pretty much as much taken out of Volusia County as it is given to Brevard.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, I think it's a great place to end it with the positive review for Gabe being on the show tonight as a pinch hitter. I really appreciate that. And we found out where Gracie is in the world. But for most people out there, we don't know where you are in the world. We're always happy that you're here. And I hope you had a good time this time. Until next time, we will see you later.